Okay. So usually I would do a little bit of a intro in the beginning, just short kind of talk about your situation and what you're trying to accomplish, and you can divulge as many details if you want to. Now I started playing this game 18 years ago with a dream, but like the current your current position kind of, and what you'd like to get out of this session, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of what I want to get out of this session, it's just again whether going for a new main is actually worth all the time and investment. And also I have a few questions because I've never really done Commerci. And also just on whether or not it's just better to just wait for bigger events like Shining Star Force instead of just 5, 10, 15 or 30%. Because recently my old main, which is the BaM, I think in the previous 3 Star Force events, I've sunk almost 100 bill and nothing went 22, and that's why I started the Wild Hunter.
And was 22, so did you feel 22 was necessary and was the next logical step, or were you just trying to get 22s?
At first it was just me trying to get because I had 21 CRAs, and I wanted to just roulette it and see how it went. And then none of them hit, so I just went back to 21. And then I tried to just basically roll a bunch of Dom pendants and gear to transfer towards my superior stuff. And just nothing hit. I think the highest I saw was 20, and it just boomed 21. And it just really just made me go okay, I need to see it's nicer to see actual gains happening. And I was also getting burnt out on farming on BaM because it's pretty active still, especially since if you don't have crazy damage, especially if you want to farm in the later grandest maps. So yeah, that's hence why the Wild Hunter potential switch.
Well, it is. I think it's very important to distinguish those two, because if it's it's getting demotivated because of stuff booming, yeah, that's just a system we have to kind of deal with. I mean, we can try to work on that, but whatever character you play, that's going to be the same system. And even if you're switching to a new character where you can definitely get more gains for your money early on, you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to start tapping past 17 very quickly. And if it's your second main on your account, you're going to get into that pretty much immediately, right? So you can't really avoid that. But in a way, if you can do that with more backups than the BaM has, you're actually in a better situation than to do that on a character that doesn't have the backups, because your risk will be even higher there for actually not making any gains. But if you're getting burned out on the character itself, I think that's by far way more important than don't force yourself to do something you're not enjoying, and definitely do keep your eyes open and give other things a try to see how far you can take it, and if you would enjoy the character more. Are you enjoying the overall gameplay more for Wild Hunter?
Yeah, I think I'm also enjoying Wild Hunter a little bit more than BaM, mainly because I've been so babied in terms of movement, because BaM has really nice movement, and it has made me realize that I am kind of bad at some mechanics and bosses.
Well, it's different, right? Yeah, teleportation movement in bosses is definitely, with the exception probably of Hard Will P3, is I think is superior, right? You get to instantly be in a different spot, whereas if you have to flash jump, you always have a vertical displacement. Thank God they're getting rid of a little bit of the, we'll just add falling balls to every single boss fight. They're walking that away a little bit, getting rid of those in Gloom Darkness, getting rid of those in Darknell soon. and hopefully the new bosses that come out. You saw with Lotus as well. They kind of got rid of that as well. They don't make it as much of the core mechanic of the boss fight anymore, which is good.
Yeah.
For it's good news for flash jumpers. But yeah, you have like you have like the moonwalk attack, and then when you're bossing, you can like split basically between the jaguar and the character, so you're kind of controlling two characters. Except when is it still like except when you iframe that you have to like jump on the jaguar to iframe or something?
Yes, you can hold Jaguar Storm and you'll still get the iframe and you'll instantly hop off the Jaguar.
Okay.
But if you hold it, because if you do a full burst, you can hold it and just use the type. I forgot. Was it type P or like the Super Hurricane basically? But that forces you to stay on the Jaguar, so you still have to manually dismount.
Yeah, so it comes with its own issues, right? That's basically what it comes down to. But still within the resistance branch, so you can share your pets and all that. Is that part of the decision or no?
Yeah, that's also part of the decision. And also, I've always liked Wild Hunter. It's just that back then, I think what really pulled me off is because I came from Rec server, and getting damage there for Wild Hunter to actually do decent damage was much harder than Reboot. So getting it to actually one shot in Reboot feels much nicer.
Okay, gotcha. Well, if I look through your gear a little bit, one thing I see is that in general, what I would what I notice is that there's like, I think, a big again. Usually when I mention this, people are like, "Oh, I only use 5 cubes," but like the general potentials that I see in a lot of things are like way past where I would take them for the Star Force that they have. So it's pretty common early on for people to feel like Star Forcing is way too risky and everything, and then they just keep pushing potentials, because that's a more guaranteed way of making gains, right? When you're limited on your backups. But then you've spent all your money, and then not only then when an event comes around, because you mentioned events in the beginning, will you have less money because you spent more of your money on cubing, but it also it does another thing, which is it kind of over commits you to your current piece, and it forces you to kind of make different decisions. So what I mean by that is that if you have a Superior Gollix ring and it has 12% or 15% stat in unique, it's very easy to just, know that if you make fodder and you roll over it, that even if you get no potential out of it, it's still a gain. So you don't really need to commit to the potential. But if you roll a 27%, then you know that even if you make the Star Force gains up to 20 or up to 21, it's still going to be a damage loss, so you're still going to have to commit money as well to the potential to make sure that you didn't just make a net negative. And then the mental of that can make you be like, well, I won't have enough money then for the Star Forcing, so I'll just work on more potentials, which takes money again away from the Star Forcing. So there's two things there. There's that thing, and then there's, do you have enough drop rate and everything? Are you able to get enough backups in the first place? I don't know if you have the whole drop rate gear, because there can be a tendency in the beginning to just want to go for damage, because, it makes you stronger, obviously. But if you don't get, the full drop in Meso Gear first, you will run into that wall where you are now, where you'll have some 17s, maybe, CRA, you just get so many backups, so even with 0 drop rate, you'll have enough. But you'll maybe have some 17s or 18s or 19s, but it's either that or 21, and you kind of get stuck to just over-investing in the potentials. So what's your drop rate situation right now with your main?
Both of them have max drop rate in terms of bossing, so
okay,
they're both fine, yeah.
And you had
both of them
Dominators.
don't have large drop. Yeah, that's the sad part.
Okay, but
And
you have
both of them
the
have the epic drop rate.
the increases drop rate, the 50% one.
Yeah, and the 60% one, the
60,
large
yeah.
drop and meso.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, that's still really good. And you have Legion drop coupons that you can use every now and then, right? And WAPs.
Yep.
Built that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're still getting to like 340, 350?
I think it's like 369 if
Yeah,
like
with
I
the drop
max
rate
right now.
inner, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you had the Dominators that didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
Do you have like backups for the other stuff? Like, do you have like a bunch of belts? Do you have a bunch of
Yes,
kind
yes,
of
I
treasure
do.
rings and that kind of stuff?
I'm planning on pushing like like my Dominators to 21 and my sub belt and earring to 21 in the next like Star Force event that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
On because my Wild Hunter is pretty much currently set. It's just waiting for Arcanes now.
Okay. And well, because you started with like I tried pushing for 22s.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a bit of a I just want to be careful there because I would see if you
Yeah.
have a bunch of things that are still 17, I wouldn't be thinking of 22s for like quite a while, right? I want to bring up the things that you have a lot of backups for, at least up to like at least 21 fodder into like 20 superior as a step, or if you have backups, you can do 21 fodder into the backup and then try to tap the backup to 21 straight up before if you want to make the switch 1 star higher. But the overarching question for you is how much longer and how much further do you want to push the Battle Mage in terms of making that equipment upgrade like matter? Because if you're going to take a character slower, you can become way more risk averse and get rewarded for that in the long term. So what I mean by that is, for example, my Adele was level 250 for a very long time, and I didn't know if I wanted to push it further. So I just took the really, really safe upgrades. So I would only work on something if there was like 12 backups there or something, because I can do that because I'm not actively trying to progress the character. So now that I got around to, the Adele's probably going to be the next character that I, do this big move on that you're kind of looking at as well, like seeing if I can make 21 fodder into 20 superior, maybe into 21 superior, maybe, like Black Beam Mark to 20, like that kind of stuff. Because I have now of all of those things, like 12, 14 backups, that kind of stuff, for the fodder I could probably make like 50 or something. Now it's like zero risk of failure for me. So then I also know that I don't need to save as much money or need to worry as much about the contingency of like, what if this doesn't happen? Because I just know it's going to happen, so I can plan for that. So if your Battle Mage is going to take a little bit of a backseat, it would be fine to just, take those really big events, right? Like either just Cube Sales and Shining and then maybe 5, 10, 15, depending on the upgrade you want to make. But only make functional upgrades when you really need to get the character to the next step, the next group of damage that you need to get to do better content, and otherwise just sit on more and more backups and just keep piling them on. Because that does lead you to the path, like for the Slime Ring, to not have to worry about, I need a whole bunch of kind of treasures and maybe a spare Superior Golix Ring into the Slime Ring, right? Because it has decent potential already, so you'd rather just get more Slime Rings. So if you can get your character into like a duo Sea Slime party or something, then maybe in a few months you've got a few rings, you could just tap on the ring. Even if you have like 2 backups, that means you pretty much have a guaranteed 19. If you have like 4 backups, that's pretty much a guaranteed 21. And you probably want like 6 to 8 backups or something to have a guaranteed 22. But remember that your whole account, your whole character can be insanely strong with like with 20 and 21 star stuff. And 22 exists, but I feel like that's really there if you're like deciding whether to get your arcanes from like 19 to 21 or your CRA from 21 to 22. That would be for me like on the same level of like decision making somewhat. Not just because of how much damage it increases, but just like the potential dangers of losing it all again and having to tap a whole bunch of times. Because the amount of people who like blow up 20 tops or 40 pants that exists, right? It's out there. It just takes a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch. It's not that expensive, but it's just annoying, And you have to be able to deal with that. Potentially a bunch of stuff booming, but if you're setting yourself up for a situation of playing longer without really needing backups, then you can set yourself up. Plus, if you're doing higher level bosses for a while, you can actually start crafting Dominators. It's not impossible. It's a little hard because the pieces of destruction are probably going to be a little bit of a bottleneck, but primals are much more common these days. So you could start crafting Dominators, or if you're doing Ferris Hill and that kind of stuff, you could start using Daybreaks as fodder as well.
Oh, funny story on Daybreaks. Finally got my first one after like soloing Vihila for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah.
2 months for what? Yeah, that's not great. But I mean, it seems like you have a lot of
Yeah.
drop rate. You're just not really getting a break. Seems
Yeah.
But so.
Like I have a bunch of twilights that I can push
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, and then the decision there is like, do you do another Twilight on the side, or you just tap one? But I would
Yeah.
say like aim for some. If you have enough money in an event, then you can also make different decisions, right? And I think by
Yeah.
not pushing as hard on the potentials as early, it will give you more money to work with during a Star Force event. And then once you're locked into the Star Force, then you can start saving up and going hard on the potential. But if you spend on the potential first, then you might not have the money to even attempt to get to that Star Force, and then the item might boom later. So then you might become risk averse to the Star Forcing. But the Star Forcing between 17 and 19 and even up to 21 is way more beneficial than going past like 2-line Legendary. Just the amount of gains on there, pound for pound for your money spent is just way higher.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think like in terms of upgrades, I think right now that's why I think I'm just going to probably take a back seat in the BaM.
Mm-hmm.
Because other than like this next 5, 10, 15 that's coming up, like I think I'm pretty much at an okay spot because I can solo basically see Tenny and like see Slime or whatever with my BaM right now. So yeah, and I'm okay with longer runs because that's literally I've been doing that for like weeks. I find that really fun, just fighting bosses. So yeah, and yeah.
I would just take those small, easy gains,
Yeah.
Like if you have, I don't know how many kind of treasure rings you have, but you probably have like 5 or 6 at least, right? Maybe you have more.
On my
But
BaM,
like,
yeah, I think I have more. I have more.
But even if there's just a event, but you currently have a 17 star, even just making like a 19 star, that's pretty cheap. Maybe you boom 1 or so, but like you won't boom much. That'll just make it so that you can see the progress of the small amount of stars, and then decide also, especially on those pieces that you don't need to transfer hammer, then you also get to decide of if you do need to make like bigger upgrades, or if that is already enough to get to the length of the runs that you're looking for. Especially if you like the challenging longer runs, you might not need that damage that everyone else has. You might be okay with just having like 19, like a few 21s, a few 19 stars, and then especially once you transfer up the superior, like the belts and the earrings are probably way more common, right? You probably have like 10 plus of those.
Yeah.
So that's just a matter of just like getting through the tapping. Your guild has the enhancement room, right?
Yes, we do.
Yep. Yeah, so you're gonna live there for a little bit during the event.
Yeah.
And when it comes to which event, because that was one of your questions as well, right? It's like which events to use and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm usually down to use like a 30% off is like, technically up to 15 use 30% off, right? That's pretty brain dead. But like past it, some people like to use 30% off if you're going 21 or 22 on like CRA, because technically that's cheaper. That is true. You'll have way more booms, but you probably have
15 to 16 feels like horrible though.
Yeah, that feels horrible, and you're also, because you're 30% off, it's going to take you longer to spend your money. So you're going to be wasting more time, and time is money, right? You're also going to sit there taking longer to spend your time when you could be spending that time actually making money, so you lose money in that as well. I don't think people factor that into the calculation for how little of a saving it is on 30% off. And technically 20 plus is, of course cheaper on 30% off. But then if you boom it, you can't remake it during the 30% off, because then that would be way more expensive. So my general advice is up to 15, use 30% off. Past 15, use 5, 10, 15. And if a Shining is close past the 5, 10, 15, then I would skip 5, 10, 15 or 30% off. Then I would skip and then just save up for the Shining instead. Shining is typically in the summer and in the winter updates, so usually it's been historically around the beginning of the event, but we never know 100%, so somewhere between June 12th and like early September, somewhere between there. So if you have the patience, because this 5 to 15 is in the last week of this event, I would sit it out. Patience being, you know, personal patience, but also there's not really a new milestone that's really close for you to hit if you were to make some big upgrades. Always looking at, like, does it give you access to new content, or does it significantly speed up your current access to content? So, and you know, do you even have the backups, right? Are you going to be able to take the necessary risks right now with your current setup, or would waiting a few extra weeks, maybe getting a backup or two, significantly change how you can approach certain projects, and then that could save you money on top of the extra saving. You can always look at the calculator as well, right, to see how much money would it save me extra going, just tacking, if you use a software's calculator, or just adding the 30% off to the discount on top of the 5, 10, 15, and just seeing if that's worth waiting for you. Because if people are working on like one item, and you know they're waiting like 4 extra weeks to save, like, you know, even if it's a big project, to save like 5 bill or something, but they make 30 bill a week, maybe that's not even worth waiting for, right? Because then the earlier damage can get you to, you know, doing stuff faster earlier on, so it ends up canceling out anyway. But if you're trying to fund a whole character, and the character kind of can already do what it can right now, but you need that big jump and upgrade to take it to the next level, then it might be better to just wait an extra month, get a few more backups for everything, and then make like one really big upgrade and then save a whole lot of money. And then again, like you said before, then that money can go into into the potential that you saved, right? And you can always come in, you can end up always coming in under budget again, unless you're super unlucky with booming a whole bunch of items. But then it will be okay to be unlucky with 1 or 2 items, because if all the rest goes, that kind of compensates, right? And now you can also more targetedly keep progressing with your account. Like if you have 2 Twilight Marks and you're trying to send them and they both boom, now you can be like, okay, now I'm going to start doing Commerci, make sure I get the tattoo, for example, right? So I at least have something to fall back on in case it goes wrong again. And the beautiful thing about accessories is that it's pretty much always beneficial to your account to have that backup, because one will become drop or meso gear anyway, even if you have a very strong backup, then that'll just become high level hybrid drop meso gear in the higher areas, right? Make sure you don't drop your damage and drop your kill speed when you get to those areas.
Yeah.
So that's, and then it might not seem like a backup, but you know, a tattoo can basically become a backup or a vessel to get you to higher upgrade with less risk on something like a Twilight Mark, but even eventually if you go for a Berserk or get a Berserk. Because then you can be like, well, okay, I already have a 21 Twilight Mark. Well, I have a 21 tattoo, so I'm going to tap my Twilight Mark at least to 21, otherwise it's not even worth switching, right? I'm not going to... What you want to avoid is like making sideways upgrades, what I call them. Basically when it's technically an upgrade, but the amount of money that you spend on the item to make an upgrade is then less than if you spent that same amount of money on the existing piece that it would upgrade it, right? So just because the set bonus would then make it slightly better, the amount of money spent on the star forcing, the potential, the cubing, just to unlock the set bonus might be such a small upgrade that it makes more sense to just be like, I'm just going to tap like Twilight Mark 22 or nothing. And then once you get one, now you have a 21 tattoo that can be a very strong drop and meso piece. And if you get a Berserk, you also don't have to worry like, do I keep 17 on the Berserk? Do I go 19 on the Berserk? Because you already have a 22 Twilight Mark. So now you can be like, probably at least 21 on the Berserk. And then the set bonus would have to like carry it over. So you can then be way more free to say like, I'm going to go 22 or nothing on the Berserk. Not because people tell me you have to go 22 or nothing, but because you have the piece of equipment to back that up and to make it so that that is the logical thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have a 19 Twilight Mark as your strongest face accessory and you get a Berserk, I wouldn't say 22 or boom there. I think that would be a mistake. You could maybe go for 21, but I would probably go for 19. And if it hits 19, then I would go for 21 on the Twilight. And if the Twilight goes to 21, then you can go for 21 on the Berserk. If then the Berserk booms, now you use the Berserk as a backup and you got your Twilight from 19 to 21. So you still end up with 2 stars gained, right? And if it doesn't go, if the Twilight doesn't go, now you switch to 21. Now you switch to 19 Twilight for a 19 Berserk. So at the worst, you lose your set bonus, which is a little setback. But Twilight Marks come back more often, and now you have 19 Berserk in your possession. So now you can go 21 or nothing on the Twilight, right? So that way you can keep like using them as a step ladder to make sure that your goal moves and that your standards basically for how good the gear needs to be before you commit to it in terms of flames and in potential, you can walk that standard up basically.
All right.
I incorporated a little bit of your question of Sweetwater as well, but maybe we can go into that a little bit more. Does that kind of answer your question about Sweetwater, or did you have additional questions there on like how it works and what to do with it?
I know pretty much of how Commerci works. Just I never really did it because I didn't want to put that much time into it. But then like it is steady enough gains that I am seeing sort of like the usefulness if I try to go for it on my Wild Hunter.
Yeah,
So
if you're doing stuff more solo and more slow approach, then a Commerci gets way more value, I think, because of the guaranteed nature of the progress versus the chance, the one-off, the sharing with other people for drops, especially when you're just getting into Hard Lucid and Hard Will, because, you know, normal Lucid and normal Will, you're never going to see Twilight marks, right? And you're doing like 4, 5, 6-man parties, they drop already, you know, they drop, but it's not every week that you see one, and then you have to share it with 6 people. Like, seeing one of those every like 3 to 4 months, where in that same amount of time you can probably make yourself like 10 tattoos if you do like the proper build up and make yourself a 21 pretty much guaranteed. But, you know, if you are going to be in a guild and people like offer carries and they start taking you as soon as you hit 220 and you get priority loot, then you could realistically get like 3 or 4 Twilight marks before you even hit level 240. And then it would make more sense to just kind of skip Commerci altogether, right? So there's a lot of that goes into like what kind of access do you have to those higher level bosses, like realistically how quickly are you going to be progressing through the game. That will determine which one has more value to you. I like Commerci primarily for the tattoo. I think that has the best position because of the Twilight Mark and the Berserk situation and how far those 3 are above like the condensed power crystal, right? Because that's just, I mean, it's really good for what it is, but yeah, damage wise that gets outclassed super easily. The eye part, like I would just go Black Beam Mark. I think at this point that's way more accessible. Even drops from normal ping beam. So if you have the drop rate, just do daily normal ping beam, get Black Beam Marks, backups like that. That just makes way more sense. If you do get a Pat Mark, yeah, you can do some crazy. You could try to tap the Pat Mark to 21 or 22, which is probably if you get a 21. I would have to do the maths exactly, but if you get a 21 Pat Mark, that's probably better than even like a Transposed 22, just because of the loss of the set bonus and the flame. Like you have to overcome a lot of stat there, or it'll be like so close again that I think it's a little bit of a sideways upgrade. So if you hit a Pat Mark, you could go for a Transpose, or you could just try to, you know, YOLO tap a 21. But again, Transposing, it's not a huge damage increase. You just have to see it as more of like a guarantee of getting to high stars, almost like transfer hammering, where you can take all the risk. But it's kind of like backwards transfer hammering, right? Because you transfer hammer, you take the risk up front for the booming so that you get a guaranteed high star. But in transposing, you kind of take the risk in the back where you have more backups by transposing the rare item up front. So it's like it's backwards but the same. You know, you understand what I mean. So you can definitely go that approach, and they are close because, you know, eye patches. You know, where are my eye patches? And then even if you get one, are you going to get it to 17, risk it to 19? Even then, until you have pitch set bonus, 19 Twilight Mark. Like I mean, I could show you in game, but like the old transposed pieces by themselves are the monocles are better than a 22 eye patch. You know, pound for pound on the stats on the item. With the flame now, they're worse, but not by much. Not even by maybe like by a 1 star, roughly, right? But without the set bonus, the pieces aren't that great. Yeah. So those are options there. For the pendant, again, I kind of like the idea of transposing the pendant, not because it's better or stronger piece, but because that means if you get 1 Dominator, that means you can get a 21 transposed pendant out of Sweetwater pendant out of that. Yeah, as long as you just get enough Dineros. And don't get super unlucky. Which means that you can start stockpiling your Dominators earlier as fodder for your Superior. and then that will also take the need for Daybreak fodder off the table, hopefully, which means that Daybreak can then immediately become their own pendant and become your secondary pendant for set bonus if you need to, or for a strong drop or meso piece. And then when you do want to go for, you know, higher star, when you get the source, then you can use your old Dominator, you know, to transfer hammer into superior if you need to do the 22 to 21 tapping. If you don't want to tap on a 20 source, which I think is a good idea to do. So you can kind of speed up that whole process by getting Sweetwater pendants, which seems really weird and not really connected. But by getting Sweetwater pendants to take off the pressure off your Dominator, it takes pressure off of your backups, take pressure off of your superior, take pressure off of your Daybreaks. It can actually help you get your 22 source more guaranteed. I think people don't see that connection as much. But again, you know, people are going to get basically week 2 of their character getting carried in in Vihela with a party who already has a 22 source and they have prio drop. They might not need to go that whole route, and it might not, you know, be as necessary or as beneficial to them. So this is why there are different interpretations out there, and people ascribe different value to the content, which is understandable.
Yeah. And that's also something that my friends and I have been considering, because all of us are basically like, our C10 party is just now starting to like split up because everyone's getting enough damage to solo. So like we're planning on just like trading carries, like so that, you know, my Wild Hunter can just get prior drops and etc.
Yeah, that changes your upgrade path quite a bit, and where you take risk and where you have like quote unquote more like guaranteed upgrades for sure. Yeah. But then and again, you'll get guided by what you get, right? If you get say you do get a Berserk or something, if you do exchange carries there, or you get to Hard Lotus, you're gonna get the Hard Lotus pretty quickly, by the way, on a side character. I don't know if you've already tried on the Wild Hunter. Maybe with, like,
I have, but I'm pretty bad at some of the mechanics, but I can do it. It's like a
6 job is soon, right?
decently longish run, yeah.
You do 59? Yeah. Well, 6 job is a huge boost for it, right?
I just reached 6 job, so now I'm trying to unlock Aeroblast.
Yeah, Mastery Core. Yeah, okay, yeah. Origin plus Mastery Core is the... Yeah, I mean, I've been putting it off for so long on my hero and my marksman because they were around forever. But like between... I think they had like 7 or 8k... 7, 8k, they were around there for Culvert, for example. And then I pushed them from 250 to 260. With, you know, some equip upgrades, but not that much. And then just like unlock Origin, unlock Mastery Core, and then they went from like, I think at that point they were like 8.5k, and now they're both doing 12k. So it's like, without really money invested, it's like, okay, that's kind of, that's a lot of potential to just sit on. And it's made a lot of bosses way easier, because in the past for me, especially like C10, it was kind of like, I didn't really want to try those things until I was liberated for solo, because it was just too annoying. But I see the Origin skill kind of as like half a liberation already, because you gain a lot of damage, you gain an extra bind, and you get an iframe with like double the cooldown. So it's like, I feel like it's almost half liberating, so it's pushing a lot of people towards being able to do those smaller party C10 and stuff like that much earlier, which again gets you backups earlier, gets you rings faster, you know, that kind of stuff. Like Oz rings is also a huge power creep that we've gotten over the last updates. So that's another really big valuable thing where some people might be, okay, I'm not getting any money from this run, I might not even get any drops, you know, shared drops, I might lose the blink, but I've got a chance for a box, and that's worth more than any of those other things ever. So getting a quick run in, you know, in the corner of Vihela and just like spamming my burst with 5 other people just to get a chance for a box, that is valuable, you know, you can't really deny that. So so you guys planning to just have one solo and then like a few people get carried and then get your arcanes that way as well? Because I think you had Abso now, right?
Yeah. Currently my Wild Hunter, I'm strong enough to join like 6-man like Heart Luil parties. I think after my Mastery Core I should be okay for Gloom as well. But I think I need to check on my damage for that, just in case. Yeah,
I can do update every now and then.
Yeah. But yeah, so far, like, I'm really leaning towards the Wild Hunter, because, like, of the recent cube sale, I actually got pretty lucky on a bunch of like its gear.
Mm-hmm. And the
Like
hat
hence
looks
why like
nice.
yeah, like I somehow managed to hit like 200 drop and like 100 mesos on like all my gear too. So
Oh, that's
that
really
was like
solid.
that was something very nice.
Too bad about the
Yeah.
treasure hunter John ring getting the 30% dex, of course. That's
Yeah.
the most
But
drop
like
rate piece hits
but
the 3
but the
dex, of
double
course.
prime event ring, that one was a
Yeah.
surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
You got
also
a
I think I
mechanism
got
with
like pretty
all-star.
lucky for my WSEs as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean double attack with something on the third line. That's the dream for any budget WSE builder. That's
Yeah.
what I signed for that. Yeah. Yeah, secondary is
But
really
yeah, so
solid.
far I'm enjoying like grinding on the Wild Hunter, and
Mm-hmm.
honestly just switching from like BaM to grinding on a Wild Hunter, it's just like very lazy. And I also like the
Yeah.
fact that I have to sort of just like challenge myself in certain bosses. I don't have the safety net of being able to teleport anywhere that I want.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Positioning is a completely different ball game now. You got to be using, I guess, with the BAM, you just use your ground displacement, and then when you're more of a flash jump character, you do more like, like in the air, blink and stay there for a little bit longer. I think that
Yeah,
becomes
and
that has
also like for fights
verticality.
like Lotus, you just need to like position like close to Lotus so that when he pushes, you'll be behind him. You know?
Yeah, or just walk out of range and walk back in, right?
Yeah,
If you stay in his max range, kind of like kiting him.
yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, you don't really have a rush skill, right? Or well, you kind of have the dash, right?
You do, but it's only on Jaguar, and
Yeah, on Jaguar,
you
yeah.
you
And you're
be
not really on
mostly
Jaguar.
off
Yeah,
Jaguar. Yeah,
yeah, makes sense, yeah. Yeah, because I was thinking, like, with rush characters, I like this sometimes, if Lotus is looking towards you and there's a Demolishizer behind him, I like to just, like, dash through him to where the Demolishizer is first, and then lure out the attack, and then dash through again, and then, have all the free space in the world. Sometimes you have to go, like, in danger
yeah,
temporarily to create more safety. But yeah, you'll gain a lot more experience there, and you have the pre-existing experience already of your BAM knowing how the boss works, and what the size of the hitbox is and the
yeah,
timing and everything. So the whole,
yeah,
the maths of understanding the boss for your character will just come way quicker to you because of that prior knowledge. So I have no doubt that'll go fine. But yeah, you got really good drop and mesogear set up, which, the earlier you have that, the more, because I don't know how long it took you to get that on your BAM, but starting with that so early on the Wild Hunter is going to just, your inventory is just going to like,
oh,
pile over with
yeah,
backups, which is just the best place to be. Like if you were to, let's say like hypothetically, you can like buy an account, right? With like 1 trillion mesos on it and no backups, or an account with like full backups and no money, I would always go for that second one, because that first one does not guarantee that you'll get to that second one. That second one is the hardest part,
yeah,
If you just, with that
yeah,
second account, if you just, then from there on start with your meso gear and then make the money, upgrade, then work on your drop gear, like you're just set. So there's a lot of
yeah.
unspoken value, and this translates to bossing mules as well, where if you have bossing mules, because I don't know, what is your situation with your like income in your account right now?
I think like weekly, with Ursus and MapleStory, I get like around 12 to 15 bill a week.
Okay, I would say that's, yeah. As soon as you can start going north of 10 bill a week, I think that's always pretty solid. So you've got like you got what? How many bosses do you have? Is it like towards 10 or more like around 5?
Boss meals, I have like 5. It's
Okay.
just the first 5 characters.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I'm currently also just tossing the Mercedes, like some like of the boss cubes that I get just for unique stuff, and seeing
Okay.
how it goes from there.
All right. Wait, is there one missing? I see 253 and then the next one 210. Is there other months? Are there characters in between there?
Uh, Wait, did I miss something? There should be like a like 215.
Oh, there may be
Wait, let me
one.
check. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
one of the things missing.
Yeah, because I imagine if you have this, then you have like a group of characters like anywhere from like 230 to 220, like a few probably, right?
Yeah, like my lin is now 216.
Mm-hmm. All right, they're going towards the
I
220
think,
area to.
yeah, they're going towards
Yep.
220 areas. I'm planning on making them into like boss mules, like
Mm-hmm.
even like CRA mules.
Yeah, but once you have those, well, what I was getting at is once you have those like level, let's say 225, 230 characters, right, that have been a boss mule for like a few months, a lot of times you'll be like, oh, you know, I don't know if I want to spend a lot of money, but if you then look at the character, you look at the amount of backups they have of everything, you might not have to spend that much money. Like the cubes are coming in from the other characters, the flames are coming in from the other
Yeah.
characters, and you just like gather the crystal money from like a few weeks, and you can make significant upgrades because you put in the work for the backups. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the Battle Mage as well, is that your Battle Mage can kind of become a bossing mule, as weird as it is, for a little bit,
Yeah.
where you just mainly do, you know, weeklies for basically just, you know, on pause, so that when you're like, okay, I want to make a big jump, I don't know at this point if the Wild Hunter, you know, is the character for me, and then you look at your Battle Mage and you see that inventory full of backups, that opens up a whole lot of options suddenly again. So that's
Yeah.
the benefit of having characters that far in the game, is that they're not really, you know, on pause. They're just on pause at some aspects, but if you're still gathering backups, you can pick right back up where you left and give them a huge injection of damage and just continue almost kind of where you left off, as long as you keep doing symbol dailies, right? Because
Yeah.
sacred power is definitely a big obstacle. I don't know if did you start like with
Yeah.
Heart Siren, Easy Kalos, that stuff, or is that still a bit too far?
Our party wants to like go through with our hard siren runs, but
Mm-hmm.
we are still really bad at like the test, so we're still just practicing.
Right.
And in terms of black mage, like just joining like my guild for their parties.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I
So
guess
when you
like
say test,
that's also like
you mean a Heart Siren
the
test?
liberation process. Like yeah, basically we all just get like gauged like crazy, and
Oh yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
just gets really bad.
Yeah, well,
We're trying our best.
every single attack is basically is like a gauge, right? So P1 is pretty rough because of the
Yeah,
beams and how fast they are and everything. You definitely want to get the
yeah,
most out of your binds and your origins in P1, and then just play safe. Yeah, liberation definitely makes it a lot easier. Currings can be useful for iframe for a while, but yeah, just playing it safe. Maybe having the person that's the most safe kind of like hold the boss in P1, and everyone else kind of just like hide in the corner. That tends to
yeah,
save a lot. For P2, it's really just a matter of like with every single attack, you have to just duck it, right? You have to kind of see it as P3
yeah.
Black Mage only, almost, where it's like constantly kicking. Because yeah, the gauge will fill up like nothing, and then I don't know. Are you dying to the actual test, or is it mainly just the gauging and the getting hit that gets you?
Um, in the actual test, I'm fine,
Yep.
but like sometimes we still kind of like screw up because someone gauges right before test,
Yeah.
and just
But
they
yeah,
die.
it's a matter of just calling that out real quick, right? Saying like, "Oh, I'm gauged," and
Yeah,
everyone knows just like, "Oh, we have to iframe," you know. Or if you see someone is dead and recently rezzed, they might still be immune
yeah,
to damage, right? So then it's just a matter of like, "Oh yeah, you just have to iframe and you just yell it out." Then if someone dies, it's their fault. But there is the thing with Saren where if on your screen someone seems to move late, then you might die, even if on their screen they were on time. So if you see someone
yeah,
still moving towards the spot when the screen's already turning white, essentially, then you just have to press your iframe to save yourself. If other people end up dying, then that's not really your fault. That's just the game's fault, and you have to. But that can be very frustrating. But you have to kind of be okay with that happening. But once you get better at it, the situations where you die because of that stuff doesn't become, you know, run determining or run ending. But that's just one of the things that can happen. But
yeah.
it's good that you're already trying that and you're doing that, of course, because that can give you nice progress
Yeah,
towards just getting
I'm
better.
always down to like practice new bosses.
Hmm.
Like it's why like I think like the biggest thing about the Wild Hunter and Battle Mage, like the debate for me is like which one do I want to take like further like past like Black Mage.
Hmm.
So like right now I'm kind of conflicted because BaM grinding to me feels a little bit rougher compared to
Yeah, and
Wild
that's your
Hunter.
future, right? It's just
Yeah,
a lot of grinding. Yeah, if
yeah,
you're not enjoying it, well, So we have the second we have the Solganis or whatever it's going to be called coming up,
Yeah.
right? Which would make
Yeah.
training for a lot of characters, at least on the, it make it pretty much the same with just one extra summon on the build up. But once it's level 20 and the uptime goes up a lot, and you get like multiple, or level 10 I guess already. But once you have multiple summons from it, it'll make the whole training quite a lot easier for a lot of characters. Plus, because you become more multi-map able to train, the average amount of burn should go up, so the EXP an hour should also go up, plus less competition over the same few maps that are just good for everyone kind of thing. That's a good thing to look forward to. So definitely, I don't know if you've been saving up fragments or not, to just like kind of try that at least to see if that is something that would be fun for you. Okay,
I have some fragments saved up for Solianis. I don't know if I can get it to level 10, but I think it'll be close. It'll be close.
Yeah, it's hard early on as well because of the limitation on the soul or the energy, right? Because eventually you're just gonna run out of that because you can only stack up to 20. So
yeah.
Okay. It's good just to give yourself the access to that at least, so you can give that an attempt, right?
But so far, that's like my biggest issue now, is because I enjoy bossing on and mobbing on like Wild Hunter, but like in terms of bossing only, I really do like the crutch of like having the super teleport on BaM.
Yes.
So yeah.
That is quite nice. I mean, you get more with Wild Hunter. You get more iframes, right?
Yeah, you have like
so that's like kind of your escape
and Jaguar Storm,
and then the long way. Yeah, so that's kind of like your escape button for for that character.
Yeah.
But every character has its own benefits. That's why I don't really like tier lists and stuff where it's like, oh, compare this class to this class. I think with there being like 50 classes, it's to me always very surprising how different classes still are with so many of them being out there, because you would expect more classes to have like way more overlap and be like, oh, this is like this class but with a little bit more of this aspect, but they're really still structurally like very, very different. Maybe like you can have some parallels, because like how many ways can you shoot an arrow from a bow, right? Like at a certain point you kind of lose but then again they come up with Cain and it's like, okay, that is still like very different and has a little bit more thief aspects, and it's got like different mobility, and it's kind of like more intensive like a Mercedes, but doesn't play like a Mercedes really at all. Like it's still very different. So I don't know, I like that more of just people going out and just exploring more if a character could be something more for them. But it is tough to do, right? Past a certain point, you are giving up a whole lot of guaranteed progress and guaranteed damage output and income for the hopes of something, of grass being greener in the other pasture kind of thing. So that is tricky, especially with, Sacred Power Gate early on. I hope they're going to do something this next update in Korea with Sacred Power, because getting from just 260 to being able to have 200 Sacred Power for Harsaran and Easy Kalas, that's still quite a big jump. So you really need to be at least 270, but like probably be 275 before you can really start doing those bosses. So yeah, maybe Hyperstat with Sacred Power or something like that. Who knows? That might be coming at some point. So how do you feel right now about like do you feel any different from the beginning of the session of like the future of the Wild Hunter versus the BaM, like their positioning in your account, or is it still pretty much the same?
It's still pretty much the same to me, but I am like now currently leaning more towards the Wild Hunter, because I think it's just like at this point it's just in terms of like personal enjoyment, right? Because we're gonna play this mushroom game for like years, so so I think like if I don't enjoy grinding on a class, even if Solianis helps a bit, I feel like I shouldn't like shoot myself in the foot, basically.
Yeah, keep your options open now, but because it is possible that in like 5 to 10 levels you're like, I did like the Battle Mage more. But with the current state of the game,
Yeah.
that just means you have a very strong bossing wheel probably on the side now that will generate a lot more income for your account. Possibly help
Yeah.
exchange carry even more characters up, right? So it all ends up being value for your account regardless. So if you had some fun along the way, that's just a win.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not trying to like persuade you either way, right? Just hopefully trying to clarify some of the aspects and some of the possibilities, and whatever you feel at the end, that is what it is. I don't think there's any right or wrong there necessarily.
Like at the end of the day, like like playing MapleStory, like because I'm not aiming to be like in the upper echelons of like dealing big damage and joining like first party clears. Like I think I'm okay even if I just restart on the Wild Hunter and just like start to slowly push my stuff up. Maybe this time I'll actually progress everything nicer and not just aim for like 22 or booms, things like that. That's all
I think that's healthy
okay.
to not set up with like that being the like necessary, right? Because I remember when I was starting, this is like a long ass time ago, but I remember when I was starting, like the go-to was like the Tyrant belts. I don't know if you played during that time.
Yeah,
but you have to like
I was on reg servers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it probably was a little bit different dynamic, but like for reboot, you could start booming past 5. They cost like 100 coins each, right? To even be able to afford those, and then multiples of them. So I was like, I'm just gonna go superior, and I'm just gonna use superior, and that's it. Like I'm not even gonna try. But then eventually, I got far enough into the game where it just made sense to start to try for a belt, and then I ended up booming one belt pretty quickly at like 8 stars or 9 stars, and then I made another one, and the second one got to 12, and I was like, well, I got to 10, and I was like, okay, now it's a sideways upgrade from the superior. I don't know if I want to do this, so I'm going to try for 11, and then when it's 11, it's like, now it's an upgrade, but not that much of one, and I tried to tap for 12, because in that situation, like, if it booms, it booms. It's like, there's no real big loss here, and it did go to 12. It's like, well, okay, now I can commit. Now I can go. Like, this is the green light, basically, of, like, going for this new thing. But you only get there, I think, by setting your goal first more realistically, and then once you reach that, then you can start dreaming, because if you start with dreaming, you can see a lot of people go like 22 or nothing, and then they'll have an account with like 3 22-star items and everything else 17. Meanwhile, I will have all of my stuff 20 to 21 and just be out damaging them, and I won't be as frustrated with star forcing because I know what I was getting myself into. And I think that just helps keep your composure and the long-term vision, rather than to just hyper fix it. Because if you're trying to min-max in one aspect of the game, you're not min-maxing in the game, right? You always want to like look at the broader picture in terms of like, where am I going? Like if you're min-maxing your legion, you're not min-maxing your damage for your character. If you're min-maxing one equip, you're not min-maxing your damage for your character, right? It's always a comparative advantage, time management, all of that stuff. But I see you had quite some nodes available, at least for your for your Wild Hunter. You've been working on this one for a while, though, right? It's not like a super recent thing that you.
It's I've been working on it for like on the side for like half a year, I think.
You got a bossing fam. That's really nice.
Yeah, I somehow got lucky enough and hit that.
Nice. But no large drop, though. You mentioned, right?
Yeah, no large drop.
Do you always go for uniques, or are you still making epics as well?
I'm still making epics as well. It's just that when I do longer, like let's say if I do 2 WAPs in a row, then sometimes I just try to push for like 1 or 2 uniques and get like 2 more epics on the side.
Okay. Because I mean, because they announced the grandest familiars, right? Do you think you will change your approach to that in terms of trying to get those large drop fams out first for this character, and maybe also for your BaM, before you move on to the uniques?
Yeah, I might. Like, I think as soon as the edition of like the grandest fams comes out, I think that's when I'll really just push for like a large drop fam. Because then both my BaM and Wild Hunter can get like at least fragments still.
Yeah, and it's
not
just
feel
40%,
as
right?
As current frames, yeah.
Well, it's going to be, is it 52%? Because we're also getting Legion Artifact System will also get more drop rate, right?
Yeah.
So that combination is going to be nice.
Like,
But
it's
yeah,
not that
most likely
much
done.
in retrospect, but it's like it still matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, the way I like to explain it is more like you're buying time, right? If you have 0% drop rate, then you have your gains from 1 week is just gains from 1 week. I don't know the exact maths, but if you have like 100% drop rate, you can kind of see 1 week as the gains of 2 weeks. You just gained a week of time for things that are time gated. So if you go from 360% to 400%, it's not as big of an upgrade, but you might be going from like 12 weeks of progress still to like 14 weeks of progress. If you, like you said, if you're playing over years, it still will just save you literal months in terms of being able to progress that much faster, having the backups of that many more weeks, and then being able to make upgrades that much earlier. It snowballs. But yeah, we don't know the exact number, sadly, of like what is the base drop rate, how does it, what percentage additively, whatever, to a certain cap, does drop rate really go up? But so we just have to trust the system, like number go up good, and just stack as much as we can, I guess. But that's I think they'll just undercomplicate it. Like I talked about it before, like people can again choose, like, do I go for fragments and familiars, or do you go for EXP and fragments, kind of, which is a better choice than do I go for fragments or EXP and do I go for familiars or EXP and fragments? That doesn't seem as fair of a question to ask of someone, right? You're sacrificing a lot there for the potentiality. Now there's at least some guarantee of like there's still fragments coming in, so fragments are transferable, and then you can also be like, oh, I feel like a little bit more active training now, so I'm just going to go on the BaM, or there's like untradeable triple EXP coupons or something. You can still get some kind of EXP on the BaM if you get like level 264 monsters. Is not the worst thing in the world. So it opens the door to options. That's what I always just want for players. I don't necessarily need like huge gains or something. I just want people to have options that are somewhat comparable and aren't like, do you want to make $1 but also shoot yourself in your foot? It's like, that's not an option, right? That's just shit. But now, I think that'll open up the game a lot. So I'm happy that for your Wild Hunter, you're like right on the doorstep of being able to experience the combination of those things for at least 5 levels, right? So, or maybe up to 10 levels. People probably are going to stay there a little bit longer.
I might even just stay there until like 275, honestly, and just like soak up all the fams that I can get.
Yeah, because you're not getting fams just for one character, right? Transferable property, so you are getting fams for your whole account. So, and I talked about it yesterday. It's a little bit of a joke, but because in KMS they made the Legion raid power affected by not the Star Force and the level anymore, but by the combat power instead. And since combat power is pretty inflated by boss damage, people who go for end game, try to go for the highest Legion score or something, are probably just going to be perma farming familiars instead to just get bossing fams on all of their characters to. But I don't know how it works with whether you have to summon them for it to count, right? It's not going to count on your passive, probably, because we had the same thing with pendants before with set bonuses. So, it might be just... It's probably something to just, like, look into. But probably because of summoning and everything, probably not going to count. But it's just a funny thing to think about, like, how things that don't seem connected could get connected, Okay, is there specific... were there more specific questions you had that we should get into?
I think, I think
kind of
like the
touched on some of
Commerci
these.
question, the Commerci questions are fine. The 3-line potentials versus tapping towards 19, like that's for the Wild Hunter.
For the Wild Hunter. So
is it just better for me just go all 19s on my Wild Hunter at this point?
So I would definitely draw a distinction there between if it's items you're gonna transfer hammer versus items you are going to trace, right? Trace upgrade. If it's trace upgrade, I think it's fine to just go 1 star at a time and move your way up to 18, move your way up to 19, and then 21, then 22, right? Skip 20, kind of. If you're transfer hammer, go with like straight 21 to 20 transfer, or 22 to 21 transfer if you want to, or 21 to 20 and then tap up to 21 before you commit. But then I would always go for like the guaranteed 21s first before the transfer hammers with a star down, because then you get to keep that star force. So CRA to 21 pretty much always wins, and then like fodder to 21 that transfers down to 20 would be like right after that, essentially. Yeah, for you, it would depend a little bit on whether you are going to be moving into arcanes, but you probably just want to keep enough money to just, you know, move into an arcane whenever you get it.
Yeah, I have enough like droplets now to buy 2 armor pieces, but yeah, that's also another question that I have. Like at this point, since my weapon is my weapon is really good, like at this point, like do I just wait for the eventual weapon box, or do I just, you know, get the weapon as soon as I can?
Yeah, that's a very common question, and it's a very common question because there's no clear answer. If you're a person who's very patient and you can already do the content around your level in what is to you a decent amount of time, I would say wait. There's no need to like push it at that point. If you can still train comfortably around your level, and if you're doing the content without feeling frustrated about like how long everything takes, or you're not really needing to move to the next thing, the one thing that's beneficial about getting your weapon earlier is getting access to more bosses that could drop more boxes, and then could help you get backups faster, so you can get to like 19 armors faster, for example, right? Or weapon backups, and maybe get a 19 or 21 weapon or something. That's like where the huge benefit lies of getting your weapon early. Don't underestimate though, like your current weapon is good for an Absolab, but anything that's really good for an Absolab is still shit for Arcane. So to give you the comparison, my Absolab weapon on my Fire Poison, I went like full 21 fodder into 20 Abso for that character. So I made 21 fodder, all 5 pieces for Abso, and then 21 fodder all... Well, I was going to do all 4 pieces, but didn't have enough rings, so I ended up with 3 for Superior, and now I have like 20 stars, like all of that. But a 20-star Superior weapon... Superior weapon. The 20-star Absolute weapon, with a tier 6 flame on it, is only 6 magic attack more than a clean Arcane with a tier 5 flame on it, with 0 stars. So even though your weapon is for Absolute is really good, Arcane is going to just blow it out of the water like day 1, maybe even without, like, just potential and flame is probably already going to be better without Star Force. So it's still, like, weapon is like the biggest upgrade. There's a reason why people even think about getting the weapon before the armors and just wait for the weapon, is because it is that much more of an upgrade. So if you can see on the horizon like extra bosses with potentially better boxes, or maybe a potential problem in like keeping up your damage when mobbing, but that's probably not going to happen at least for like another 10 levels, I assume, if you're, you know, trying to get to... But that's more going to be a sacred gap than, you know, pure damage, because that final damage is just going to mess you up. It's more of like how quickly do you want to get to the next set of bosses. And yeah, I always say there's like, people usually don't regret getting the weapon ever. Even if you get a weapon box like the week after, that just means that you have your next backup to try to get your weapon up to 19. Because the weapon is just that much extra damage. Like, you can't really regret it. Now, if your weapon was like 36% attack or something with like a tier 7, you know, attack and like a 19 or 21 star or something, then I would say like don't touch it and get the weapon very last and wait for a box, right? But this is, even though being good for Abso, it's not like on that level. So it'll definitely, we can look up the weapon, I guess, for the crossbow, but like the base attack is probably already going to be quite a lot higher. I know what a... Oh, I have a crossbow on my marksman, but it's probably my... Because I went for 20 Absos on my marksman as well. I think I have that still here. Yeah, so I had this. This was my weapon. So I used this for a while. So this is what, 405 attack? Yeah, so even with those 3 extra stars, it's like not that crazy. And 1 ID, 2-line attack. With some boss damage, and then now I have the Arcane, but because I got a lot of backups, I got it to 21. But like the base attack is 283, and then the bonus of the flame is 136. So just the base plus the flame is 419. So you see that's already 47 weapon attack increase for just a tier 6 plus the base. That's no Star Force yet.
Yeah, that's
that's
a lot.
Yeah. So again, if you can comfortably kill everything in a decent amount of time, you're not feeling any rush there, and you're slowly growing. You don't really have any outlook on like bigger parties with more drops anyway, and the mobbing is still fine. Then you can wait. You can wait as long as you want, and you will still get damage increase by going into the arcanes, right? Going into the glove. Remember for the glove, you don't necessarily need double crit damage. If you go double crit damage and 2 lines of dex, if one of those lines is primed, that's actually better than 2-line crit damage, which is easier to hit as well.
Yeah, because as an archer, that crit damage is slightly less, like.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Than normal.
Yeah, the higher you go, right, with the vicious shot, So going into the glove and going into whatever other piece you're going into is still going to give you that damage increase. So if that's enough for you, then just do the armors first and wait for that weapon box, because it is pricey. This is definitely pricey. Yeah. But if you have an outlook for new content and for new stuff that you can get your hands on, and then that will give you more boxes and get you into 19, into 21 arcanes, like all that faster, then by all means go for the weapon and you won't regret it.
Yeah, like I think like the main reason why I kind of want to push for the weapon a bit more is because that could probably push me to V-Hila parties. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, this is why it's many people's question, because there isn't like one. It's like in this situation, I would advise more towards getting the weapon, just to keep your, and you will feel immediately like once you're even if it's just like 2 light legendary and like a tier 6 flame and nothing else and 17 star, you're already gonna see like a noticeable difference. Like your culvert is gonna probably go up by like 10 to 20% immediately. It's gonna be very noticeable. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like now just talking about the Wild Hunter just makes me wanna actually make the jump to Switch, because I'm really enjoying currently like just bossing on it. I think like the only boss that I'm kind of low-key struggling at is Slime, because I've tried like joining with my friends for like sea slime parties. I have the damage, but just the laser it's too fast, and I don't have the instant teleport that BaM has now. So it's where I'm like dying a whole bunch now.
Okay, so the beams get you on the stun and then they kill you.
Yeah. I think like that's my biggest issue with slime, because just the beam does like 90% damage or something, and you just like start taking a bunch of tick damage everywhere else.
Oh, I mean, yeah. If you ever get hit by it inside a beam, well, that's the other thing, right? If you down jump, for example, and you just get
not the green beam, the red.
The red one. Gotcha. Yeah, and it hits like quite a bit behind them. Yeah. The key for that is to make it so that you that if you are far enough away, you just don't want to stand on a rock or near a rock or any green puddles, basically, because that'll put you in. So you would kind of want to constantly be looking at your HP, so you're not in like kill range. If you're full HP, then you don't have to like respect him, and you can just tank the beam and it's whatever. But as soon as you start taking like a little chip damage from the rocks, from the little little slimes, remember that you can you can cleanse the seduce, right, with your will skill, if that ever happens.
With will skill, yeah.
And what I found the best is like you always want to be like a platform above him, right? For attacking him, so you don't get hit by the knockback or the jump as much. And up jumping, or like if you jump at the right time, or like flash jump, which gives you a little bit more elevation over the red beam. But it's also just getting used to the pattern, right? Because he has cooldown on all of his skills, and he usually just does all 3, right? Like he'll teleport, he'll do 1 knockback, he'll do 1 beam, and he'll do 1 jump attack, and then he'll teleport again. Like it's pretty consistent in that rhythm. So it's also about knowing like, oh, he just beamed, now I can just attack freely. And then as soon as he does like another teleport, you're like, okay, there's another potential beam coming. So then you look at your HP. Priority is like, oh, my HP is full. Okay, I can risk this. I can risk this. And as soon as you see a rock or something, just down jump. Even if it gets you on a stun, you'll get stunned on a different platform. And then at least you're either going to then take some damage there, or you're going to get hit by the beam, but not both. So because of the slight delay, like even if you get hit by one of the green lasers, if you do get stunned, but you're like down jumping, you'll just get stunned on a different platform. At least you won't stand in the beam the whole time, right? So it's a matter of you don't want to ever let the slime get all the way to the top platform, right? And on the bottom platform is also not a great idea. So you always want to like keep him in the middle, those middle two platforms. Just always play the other platform. But yeah, the laser is just that is. I mean, as a Demon Avenger, like you're constantly at 30% HP, and the beam just always one shots you. So you always have to keep your blast skill to get healing from hitting him. And then also the damage reduction from blast to just barely survive the beam every time. But muscle memory, I'll tech blast every now and then for damage, and it's like, oh fuck, now I can't approach him for 10 seconds and I just have to play like a bitch. And there's just no way around it. So that is definitely one of the harder parts of that boss fight, yeah. Sometimes, grabbing a door beforehand, and depending on how quickly you kill it, you can get away with it, but you have to respect that beam for sure, yeah. It's tricky. And you have what's the short cooldown iframe? Is that like 40 seconds or like 1 minute?
It's 1 minute.
1 minute, okay, yeah. Yeah, finger on that button, I guess, when you know you're in a tricky situation. If you're low HP and you know he might laser, then yeah, get finger on the trigger.
70 seconds.
Oh, 70 seconds, yeah. Yeah, close enough. You lose out on bite stacks. Yeah, Cloughney's also... Yeah, maybe Cloughney can give you some advice. He's also playing... Wild Hunter. I think he's in a 276? 277? Around there. So kind of like where your BAM's at, but then in the Wild Hunter area, yeah, 276. What is a weird number, like 70? In my brain, I'm immediately thinking some skills might be that kind of cooldown, but then they have reduced cooldown depending on how long you hold them, but I don't think the Wild Hunter has that, right?
No, the Wild Hunter is just a press and iframe.
Yeah. Yeah, 70 is weird. I don't know. Maybe they thought 90 was too little and 60 was too OP. Honestly, though, usually iframes with like very short cooldowns typically have very short durations. So if you want to have a little bit longer iframe, then typically the cooldown goes up a lot. So they're trying to probably find like the right balance between cooldown and duration. Because the 1 second iframe with like a 30-second cooldown, on paper sounds really nice, but 1 second is over really, really quickly. So you have to be very accurate with your timing. You'd probably rather have like a 1.5 second one with 45 seconds than a 30-second cooldown with just 1 second. Because the amount of times where a little bit of desync or a little bit of bad timing is just still going to get you killed is going to be quite a bit.
And then you have like Hero with like its like super short cooldown iframes.
Yeah, 25 seconds and then pretty solid 2.5 second. But then you can almost get hit again while the animation is still going off at the end, so you do have to be a little bit careful. Yeah. Or if you press it a little bit too late, the animation will go off in the background while you're dead, and that's just demoralizing. Yeah. That's definitely happened a few times to me. It happened twice with my Origin so far as well, where I like press the Origin and the effect is going off, but I'm dead. And then, have to respawn and repress it, and there goes all your timing on your burst. Good times. The joys.
Oh man, really wish like the game was actually up still. Then I would be trying to unlock my Wild Aeroblast right now.
But that's good though. Like I like that you're looking forward to it, and you're looking at like, I want to log in and I want to experience the Wild Hunter. I want to play it. That's always my goal. Is like, how can we keep that feeling for as long as possible? Like, I want to log in, I want to play, and also when you log out, you can feel good about your progress rather than just feel bad about like, oh, I still had to do this, I still had to do that, I still, kind of have that as little as possible, and have just like, I want to play, I want to enjoy, and then log off happy. Like that's my goal. So keep holding on to that.
Yeah, it's also arguably why I still enjoy the BaM even though I'm not grinding on him anymore, because like every week I sort of like really enjoy like doing all the Vihila runs and like the C10 bosses. Even though Darknell, I'm just waiting for him to get nerfed, because I give it 3 attempts a week, and then if I can't kill him, I'll just do normal.
Are you doing everything solo there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that for me, like getting a solo is pretty high on the list for characters. But then, or especially for my first character, to have it. But then as you do it on more characters, I become way more pragmatic. Or once I know that I can solo it, I'll also be like, okay, I know I can solo it, but it's like a 20-minute run, and it's like, I'm sitting here with my butt clenched the whole time, like breaking out a nervous sweat because this boss is just ass cheeks. So maybe I just want to find a duo partner and just like knock it out in like 5 minutes. That you become more pragmatic in terms of like time management and scaling, because sometimes I'll do a boss or I kill like Lotus like in a minute on a character, and people are like, why aren't you doing hard Lotus? It's like, well, if I do hard Lotus here, I have to do hard Lotus like on 16 characters every week. Like I have to draw the line somewhere, otherwise it becomes a nightmare. So but if you have one character, I understand that desire to like still do that, but yeah, not every week is the same. So 3 attempts per week I think is already pretty generous. But yeah, Liberation makes that a whole lot easier, but the extra damage creep still coming in 6th job will enable that as well. Are there any specific patterns that you have trouble with, or is it just like the last 25% where like everything comes out of the closet like at the same time?
I think it's the last 25%, and also just the general. I just literally have to stop attacking to just wait for like the elites to spawn on me to move aside. And just sometimes you can just get really bad hits, and like both of my will skills are on cooldown, and I just can't do anything. And I just get stunned, and everything just kills you.
Yeah, the warrior stuns you. That's a big one. It doesn't attack super quickly, but usually if there's like 2 or 3 of them on top of each other, it's hard to see which one's which, and then you're stunned by the time. Or then the thief like pushes you to the side, like into a beam and into a snipe or something like that. That's always a good time. Do you use a lot of verticality in Dark Now?
Yes. Like I also make use of the whole up jump because you can double teleport with it.
Yep. And blink sometimes to stay up or
options.
Go higher. Yeah.
There's a lot of movement options. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have like 3D games are kind of 2D because it's just like a flat plane, right? Like most 3D games don't really work a lot with like elevation or with ducking under things. It's more like rolling, but then everyone has that. It's kind of like an other dimensional roll. But like for MapleStory for the longest time, it was just like moving left to right, kind of like one-dimensional. But it is becoming way more two-dimensional now and going up, like for using verticality, dashes, blink, that kind of stuff. Iframes in the air, sometimes floating in the air, like origin in the air, that kind of stuff. Over like the phase 2 Damien balls or something, right? You can now wait for him to dash on you, just pop your roar, up jump. For some origins, you still fall. I don't know if you do. It's always a good thing to test. For some origins, you stay in the air. For some, you fall. But, of course, the damage on the Damien blue ball or something like that can be a huge difference between just like an easy burst versus making it, another part of the boss fight. So those are like small things to check out. But yeah, you have access to like the class discords and stuff like that, right? You can ask some other wild hunters some tips and tricks here and there.
I've asked for some help on the Wild Hunter Discord. They've been like really nice. Like I've been getting some help for like sea slime and like what to do. And like I think a whole bunch of people are just saying that I'm just greeding for too much damage. But I feel like because I kind of don't want to just stay at 5%. That's why I feel like I should be hitting more. So I think that's also one of the problems that I'm having right now.
What I would be okay with, it's just a suggestion, something to throw out there, is you could see like for C10A that instead of like soloing all of them, you get like a dual partner there to just knock those out.
Yeah.
And then instead, the time that you save, you could spend on like solo trying Sea Slime, for example, and just like going in there for maybe like, half an hour a day or something, or like a few half-hour sessions per week, and just try to like jump around and survive and attack at the same time, and just figure out like some things that work for you, where can you be risky, where do you have to be safe, that kind of thing. And then because you have to add on top like doing the little test, like doing the blocking and the dodging and the damage, it's a lot of stuff at once, especially if you're building a new character and you're controlling two characters at once as well, kind of, right? So it's a lot of stuff going on, and you can't just teleport out of the way and be safe. You have to be a little bit more thinking ahead of like what are the possible outcomes and is this a dangerous situation or not. So it's just gonna take some practice.
Yeah, there's a lot of that with like Lotus for me. Like when I tried my Heart Lotus practices, where I see a debris coming for me and I press my teleport button. It's my dash up. And I just like dash into I just dash into a train.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. You might also discover that just in some situations you might need to move some keys around, because if in a pinch you end up pressing a certain button, and it should be another button, maybe that other button should just be on that key then. You know. Because instead of like sometimes you need to rewrite your muscle memory because you have bad habits, but sometimes you need to use your muscle memory to your advantage, because if you know exactly where that key is, like boom, slam another key on there.
Like right now, my my iframe is on the same button as eForm, so it's just like every time anything bad's about to happen, just iframe.
Yep.
Because that's what I do on my BaM as well. Just
Definitely.
eForm, like just get everything out of the way.
And put like the will skills on the same keys and that kind of stuff. Probably jump on the same key as well, but I don't know for people at home who need to hear that, but probably do that as well. Looting maybe also same key, you know. Yeah, it slowly started moving like everything away from like the left side of my keyboard. All of those functions there are either gone or somewhere else. But they enabled the, using escape to get through the menus and everything. That helped for me get rid of a lot of the keys as well. It made it a lot smoother to be able to
I've
navigate.
recently started moving a whole bunch of my keys on the left side of the keyboard. So,
Yeah, because it seems like we're only going to get more 6-job skills, so you better start making room there. Otherwise, you have nowhere to put them.
It's like so much skills I need to press on like Wall Hunter. It's like constant presses.
Your other question was like 3-line potentials versus tapping. So when you say 3-line, do you mean? So when I hear 3-line, I mean like 30% on sub 160, 33% on over 160. Is that what you mean as well?
No, I just mean like even like the fake 3 lines as well, like just 27, I think.
Yeah. Usually I refer to that as like 2.5 line, but I get what you mean. That's why I'm asking to clarify. So I mean the 2.5 line stuff is most valuable on hearts and badges, on probably a WSE, and then on accessories. But I feel like even on accessories, I would only consider doing that probably after it's 19, and on like other armors and stuff, probably only after they're 21, in terms of comparing it to Star Force. It's like if something is epic potential, I would go to 6 or 9. If something is unique potential, I would go to 12 or 15. If something is legendary potential, I would always go for 2 useful lines, and then it would all be, and then after that it would be Star Force for a long time before it goes to 2.5 lines, and then it'd probably be pretty much done either for your character or for 22 before full 3-line. And then with some exceptions there, of course, that if it's like CRA or something, then the cubing is harder comparatively because more junk lines, and the star forcing is easier comparatively. So for CRA, I will have like characters with 21 star CRA that have like 9 or 12% potential on it, but I would never have, for example, a 9 or 12% Kana treasure ring that's 21. Like as soon as it hits 19 or something, I would go probably to legendary and then try to hit 21. And then so it kind of depends on the item because of that. Yeah,
because now I think I'm waiting on the pendant for my Golix item, so I might just like wait and try to see if I can get like a fodder like into it. So maybe I might just go for like 20 star like sub pendant. Yeah, and then just like keep it there, like just for the time being until I get like all my other stuff to like higher stars.
Yeah, that's fine. Because I'll have some characters where I'm just going to go make the jump to 21 because I have the pieces, I have the coins, or it makes sense. Or I'm just going to try, and if it doesn't go, it's not a huge, not a huge downside to me. And there's be some characters where I need the guarantee of this damage, and I probably don't even need to get to 21. If I have everything to 20, like that's the damage I want for this character to be able to do the content that it needs to do. So then I'll just take that 20 and then work on the potential immediately. But if I know I'm eventually going to go 21 or pretty soon, then I might keep like even epic or unique potential on it, because not always does your potential and Star Force need to match. It depends on what the goal after that is, right? If you're staying, then you can go harder on the potential. If you're still going, then you can go a little bit down on the potential. It all comes back down to the overall state of the whole account. Can the character do what you want it to do in the time that is reasonable to you? That's always what you want to go back to. Never get too impacted by can you make an upgrade, because then you're never done, or by peer pressure, because then it's whimsical and you lose control of your budget, right? Unless you want to do that. I think for some people that's more interesting.
I think that's like kind of like the trap that I fell into with my BaM, where it's just like I kind of felt the need to just upgrade all my gear to like 21 because like a bunch of my party members were just, especially I had like one guy who was just constantly hitting like 21s like it was nothing. So yeah, I just sort of like just felt pressure to just keep pushing higher.
Yeah.
And then like when everything just kept booming at like 19 or 18, just felt like horrible.
Yeah, the main thing I would say there is it's okay to like boom stuff, but I would never boom multiple things, like I would always quit while you're behind kind of thing. Like because what I heard, I don't know if it was you, but it was like someone else who was like, oh, I had 21 arcanes and I wanted to get 22 arcanes. First of all, I was like, what do you really need that for? That's already very far into the game before you like need that. I was like, and they all boomed, so now I'm back down to 17 arcanes. I'm like, that should just never happen, that you go 4 arcanes down from 21 to 17, because that's huge pain. Losing one, okay, it happens, but then that means that your next project is to try to get that 17 back up to 21, and that's where all your resources are going. Not let's tap the other ones as well and see if you can make this, that's like doing roulette and like always doubling your bet and then losing 8 times in a row and then putting your house on like one number to try to get your money back. Like that doesn't work, right? Yeah. I mean, it'll work for one person out of like 3 million people, but with the odds that it's going to be you, well, about 1 in 3 million, like that's not a solid plan. It's like if you, it's like with flaming. Sometimes people are like, okay, my flame is already pretty good, so I'm going to use black flames. Like, well, I wouldn't do that, because the black flames would be more valuable on your weapon or on a side character's weapon, right? It'll be better to just use the regular flames that you get on a weekly basis and just completely destroy your flame on one of your items, because mathematically it's the good decision to work on that one flame, and eventually you're going to get a better flame. And then when you do, you can go to the next item, and then you can start ruining the next item's flame, because you have your whole account to make up for that damage that you lost on that one flame, and you're not going to notice that difference. If one of your items, if everything is 21 and one item goes from 21 to 17, you're not going to notice any damage difference. That's like a rounding error. But if 4 of your arcanes go from 21 to 17, you're going to definitely feel that. Plus, the amount of money, that's no good. So that's what I would definitely say. I would say objectively, like, that's a bad decision. But it feels like an emotional decision as well. And afterwards, people probably know, like, yeah, I should have done that. Not just because it was a bad outcome, but just because you risked that outcome. And only be willing to risk what you're willing to lose, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I mean, other than that, yeah, I'm okay with leaving my BaM as it is for now. Because it's not really a content that I'm pushing for that requires me to get more damage or like higher damage, because I can still join BM parties just fine, and like our party is still trying, like hard Seren and above. So like, of course, I don't think I'm gonna be joining any like Carlos parties or whatever, but like I think we'll get there when we get there, like kind of deal probably.
Yeah, normal Carlos is definitely a step up. Like sacred power wise, I don't think you were that far off, but like the whole character would have to be on that next level, right? You're now like at the
Yeah.
45k stat, but you're going to be looking at like being more like at the 50 to 55k stat at least, like with an Oz ring on. Or probably like even going towards 60. So that's more the step of like being like full 21 and done, like 21 CRA, 22 CRA, sorry, like 21 arcanes, everything else probably 21. Extra Star Force on the weapon. Set bonus is kind of on point, probably a few pitches, like working towards that. So that's when that becomes more reasonable. Unless but you're probably going to hit red. You're going to bring still quite a lot of damage to the party, debuffing the boss, plus the weakening aura and everything. But, yeah. If you're not getting anything out of the Eternals and no ring boxes and nothing like that, it's like not really going to help you.
Yep.
Yeah, so take that slow. But that's the benefit of having like two characters that get more up there, is that you can kind of like start swapping out, right? If they know, if you know the mechanics.
It doesn't feel too bad for me to like switch it out, because like if my party wants to run Heartseer and my BaM is not getting weaker or anything, everyone's just getting slightly stronger if they do upgrade their stuff, but I'm still dealing damage. I'm not suddenly not dealing damage. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And because if you have boss mechanics down, you'll be able to get your new character on point much faster and able to commit your damage, right? Because that's a big problem for new people, is they'll look at BAs and look at how much damage do I need, and it's like, it's not just because you hit this certain number that now you're just free to do whatever you want. Like whether you actually know the boss fight or can commit your damage is like 95% of the fight. Like coming in with the right damage, that's a good start, but that's if you give me like a perfect decked out World of Warcraft account and you put me against like the second boss in the game, I'm probably gonna get wiped because I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really give me any value, right? If I don't know, don't know how to use it.
Like I've seen like 270s like struggle in hard will more than my like 255 like wall hunter at the time.
Definitely.
So,
yeah, I was looking for a hard will struggle party like end of the week. On my Kane, he was 238, I think, and I partied with a dude who was it was 269, I think. I was like, you're not just gonna like blow it up and like I won't be able to get blue, right? He's like, no, I have 15 mil combat power. I was like, oh, okay, I have 13 and a half. I think we're good. So yeah, and then two people I ended up being green in that boss fight, because we ended up doing Hard Lucid after. I ended up being green, and two people in their 260s ended up being blue, while I was on my 238. So it's like, yeah, level is one of the indicators, but it's definitely not be-all, end-all. Like, combat power isn't the be-all, end-all either. We just don't have that kind of number. I guess the Scouter they use in Korea is getting there in terms of predictive powers. It's a much more comprehensive, better tool than anything else I've seen. It's probably also not perfect, but it's a better indicator of like, give this a try, don't try this yet, it's a waste of your time kind of thing. So it's a nice start.
Yeah, I've been following the classic metric of just following my culvert score. That's how like I checked mainly on how like I could solo bosses on my BaM. It's like a certain culvert score. I just decided, okay, so I can do a min cut Vihila run. Like my first like solo clear in Vihila was like 28 minutes or something like that.
Oof, yeah. Which, if you get the boss down and you're soloing, you can do those runs, but you can't. I don't think you can do a 28-minute like 5-man Vihila run. I don't think you can just live that long. You have to cleanse for other people. People pull the boss away. You lose all your damage. No, it's just too hectic, right? That's why I think.
But it definitely pays off to have the mechanics down. So at least, if anything, you can.
You're more resilient
for like
Definitely, yeah. That's why I think like early on, I think most boss parties should probably be like 3 to 4 men. I think that's like the sweet spot where you're not trying to solo too quickly, but you're also not trying to just go like with a bunch of clowns who have no idea what's going on and who might be ruining your learning process, actually just harming it actively by making the boss erratic, creating more desync, and just making weird shit happen. I think like 3 to 4 men is like a really good party size. And then once you move to, like, if you're a BaM, you're probably going to end up in slightly bigger parties, right? Because you'll just end up contributing more. Or, well, not in terms of direct damage, but in terms of overall supportive power. And then then you start splitting off into like 2-mans and solos. Once you're doing, once you're strong enough and you want to get more drops for yourself. But you really only go to 6-man parties, I think, when everyone is on the same point. And I think that happens better if people get there by doing the 3 to 4-man parties rather than just those random 6-mans that just jump in. Because half the people who clear Vihela on a weekly basis have no idea how the boss works. They just run into the corner, press their burst, and just nuke that boss down. And then once they get the liberation, then they have to start learning the boss fight, which is tricky.
Yeah.
Because then they're on the clock. It's like, well, maybe for Vihela they're not as much on the clock, but for Hard Will and Hard Lucid they'll be on the clock if they don't mess anything up. Hard Lucid becomes harder to mess up, but like Hard Will can be tricky for characters because then it's like, well, you have to get the clear in before the Vihela clear, otherwise you're going to get behind, and
Yeah, I got lucky and my BaM only started soloing Hard Will when the changes for test came in. So I didn't have to go through the whole damage crunch of like having to
first
hit
access
before the test. Yeah.
Yeah, and the slower switching as well. The
Yeah.
Moonlight switch was also pretty significant in terms of just making the boss less constricting in terms of when do you get. Because I remember way back in the day, it was like, oh, you need to help on this side, but you shouldn't come if you can't also switch then, because then if you die, you actually heal the boss more than if you come over and hit. It's like, the whole, the whole thing. Or then if you fat fingered the skill one time, you just fucked, and then you just kill the run for 2 minutes, and then before you know it, you're in like an 18-minute run, which could be like a 10-minute run, but just a few things got messed up. Yeah, they just also, and that then ruined the duration on your G skills and your coupons, and it's just like it's extra pressure on everything that is just not necessary,
Yeah.
Okay, did we get to all your questions, or do you have anything remaining?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for like all the questions that I had.
Okay.
Pretty much like being in this talk just made me realize, I think I low-key kind of just like Wild Hunter a whole lot more.
You see the capacity and the potential of the character, I think, right?
Yeah, I think I just see just the potential of just having more fun on the Wild Hunter.
That's good.
So
I'm glad.
yeah, I mean, if I do decide to push the Wild Hunter, I guess I'm just gonna be probably saving until Shining. Just get everything to 17, just get a whole bunch of spares.
And then with all the spares in mind, you can make optimal decisions at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest eye opener for me is just, the whole not trying to get to like 21s, and just better to have like a more steady full, like, all of your gears. Instead of just one gear. Just having 121 gear is not going to be as good as having like maybe 5 or 6 like 19 gears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not losing the plot in that sense on like, why do you want 21? Well, because it's higher than 20. Well, why do you want 20? Well, because it's higher than 19. But if one thing is already 19 and another thing is 17, it comes back down to like pound for pound, what is the money you're putting in versus the expected gains, right? And if the expected value of another upgrade is just higher in terms of efficiency, then why would you go into the riskier area? And then risk is just money plus backups. So if you have the drop rate, you get the backups. If you have the time, you get the money. And then if you have the event, you have the perfect moment to assess your situation and your possibilities, and then you make the decisions. But reassess during the event, right? If your first item goes, okay, now you can start maybe doing something more risky because you come in under budget, so now you have more money available. If the first one gets unlucky, maybe you reassess, maybe that's the only thing you do that event, or maybe you only you make some 18s or something, and then that's enough, right? It's like with a 5, 10, 15 event for someone with a very low budget. Maybe you just tap everything to 16 first, right? Get all those guaranteed gains, and then work on the 17s. That way, if something gets unlucky, you still have all the guaranteed 16s, and you still have all of that weapon attack, versus you run out of money by the third item, and now you miss out on 7 or 8 items to 16. That adds up to like a whole lot of weapon attack, right? It's like 50, 60, 70 weapon attack that you could have gotten if you just went about it just slightly differently with a different priority.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and yeah, feel free to reach out if there's anything else, or let us know how it went. But yeah, I feel good. I think you're gonna enjoy the Wild Hunter quite a bit. I'm glad you found another character and you're willing to kind of take the leap, you know, into kind of the unknown in terms of like you don't know exactly where it's gonna leave you, but as long as you're going into it trying to, you know, optimize your enjoyment, I think that's a good decision to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, like, thanks for having me here, and yeah, hopefully, you know, the next time like I hop on chat, you know, like I can actually talk quite a bit, because usually it's super late when you start streaming.
Yeah, the time zones are all over the place, right? Yeah, and I'm actually already, I have to move my time zones a bit, but you know how it is. You stay up late one day and then it takes you months to go back to a regular schedule.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay.
Thanks for all the tips, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great rest of your day. Or I guess, yeah, because it's morning for you. It's evening for you now, right? So I guess good night.
Yeah, it's almost like midnight. Yeah, so I'm just gonna head to bed after this.
Yeah, all right.
Just wait for the patch to be done.
Think about it over. Yeah, by the time you wake up, we'll be going to bed after waiting for the whole patch, and you'll be fresh and ready to start your day and start your dailies.
Yep.
All right. Well, good luck, and we'll see you around.
All right.
Okie dokie. All right. So hopefully there was some stuff in there that was informational to you guys. Probably not everything. Hopefully not everything, because that was a lot. Hopefully you already knew some of those things, but not all of those things. I think I probably over-explained a little bit. I think you already knew quite a bit of it, so some of that stuff was for you guys. But yeah, some context for the Commerci stuff, and, you know, finding what is fun and enjoyment. Priority of the Arcane Weapon, you know, whether you get that or not. That's a pretty common question, so it's normal to have that. Hopefully that, for your situation, that explanation gave you hopefully more insight on what you want to do, whether you want to get it or not, right? What to do with familiars and everything. Of course, new information coming out of familiars appearing in Cernium, so that can change your plans as well in terms of where you train and how long you stay there, all that. So, if you have any additional questions, let me know. Please leave a comment for that, or drop by the live stream on Twitch. It's on that way. So you can be on chat if you want to. Twitch.tv/Scardor. You can be in the chat there. I stream every day, so feel free to drop by. If you want to leave a comment about winning a session, you can do that, but I have switched to just making a monthly post on YouTube where people can submit their names, and then that's where this session also came from. And then just after, I wait like one day, and then I draw the winners from that post. So keep your eyes out for that community post on YouTube. I found that easier for me to find the people, and it was easier for people as well to respond, and the whole process is just better. So I'm gonna keep doing that. But you know, feel free to still drop a comment if you want for the algorithm and all that, if you have any questions, or if you're a Wild Hunter and maybe you saw something that could give extra context, or you think is not entirely correct what we were talking about, or maybe a Battle Mage. Let me know, because I'm always still learning as well. There's many classes with many aspects and many nuances and details, so there's a bunch of stuff I don't know either. I always love to hear from people who play one class for a long time and really well, to hear about their insights and their you know, pros and cons about a class. It's always interesting to hear. So yeah, with all that, thanks for watching the video, and if you want to check another one, something should pop up on the screen. If not, I messed something up. Or if you don't want to, see you in the next one, or live on stream. Thanks for watching. Bye.